Good morning. Today we're going to read Joshua 24, the last chapter of Joshua, and finish up that book. So pause me and read all of Joshua 24. Okay, so in Joshua 23, you'll remember they had this meeting, and Joshua said farewell to all the leaders and told them what to do. Well, apparently Joshua lived longer. And longer than he might have expected to. And so he said, you know what? As long as I'm alive, I'm going to keep these people in check. Lesson. As long as you're alive, you still have a job to do. So he calls them back together, and he assembled all the tribes of Israel at Shechem. Now, when he assembled, you can't just, well, you can, but they don't think he brought all of Israel, like every person, child, to this one place. He summoned the elders, leaders, judges, and the officials, and they came, and then their job was to communicate back to the people of Israel. So, and they presented themselves before God. And so Joshua then says, this is what God says. And God says, you need to remember everything I've done for you. I brought Abraham from the land where he had many gods. I gave him descendants. I took care of them and gave them even Esau. I gave land. I sent Jacob down to Egypt. I took care of them in Egypt. When they were in servitude, I brought them out. I parted the Red Sea. And you have stories from your parents that they saw, and you know the stories to be true, what I did to the Egyptians, and then you lived in the desert for a long time. By the way, that was your fault. And then I brought you into the land of the Amorites east of the Jordan, and I destroyed them. And then the story of Balak and Balaam, which is in Numbers 22. And I brought you out again, and then you came into Jericho, and I did that whole Jericho thing where the walls came crashing down. And I gave you all these people into your hands: the Amorites, Perizzites, Canaanites, Hittites, Girgashites, Hivites, and Jebusites. I took care of all this for you. I sent the hornet ahead of you. Now, this is kind of interesting because there's no biblical record of actually hornets destroying a tribe or being in a battle, I guess. But they could have been. This could have happened. Or it could be reference to the Egyptian troops. So Egyptians, the bee or the hornet was one of Pharaoh's symbols. So it could be because the Egyptians kind of always made these little forays into Canaan. They could have come before and weakened Canaan some. So that could be what he's referring to here. So in verse 13, he sums it up. I gave you a land which you did not toil, and cities you did not build, and you live in them and eat from vineyards you did not plant. So God's saying he did everything here. And then Joshua says, you know what? All you got to do is fear the Lord and keep his commandments and serve him faithfully. That's it. That's all you got to do in return. Throw away the gods your forefathers worshipped. So why would they even have these gods? You know the story of Rachel, and she hid the idols. It was part of the culture, and sometimes they just kept these things, and we talked about this yesterday, with a little bit of, why not? It's just a statue. It's not going to hurt anything. God is saying, get rid of it. Some Christians today believe that you should not have crosses because it might be an indication that you're worshiping the cross more than Jesus, or figures of Mary because you're worshiping Mary more than Jesus, or biblical pictures because you're worshiping the picture more than Jesus. So it's just, you have to be careful about the importance you put on things. And then he goes in and says, you know what? This is the big sentence. You've heard this 1,000 times. You know what? You choose. You can worship God. You choose who you will serve. But for me and my household, we're going to serve the Lord. So the me, Joshua's saying, not just my household. I'm going to get in there and do the dirty work too. But I have influence over my household. And my household is, and this is a big patriarchal thing where men run the households, the servants, the wives, the daughters, everybody, they're kind of in charge. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. Even if their hearts are not in it and I can't do anything about their hearts, we're going to go through the motions till maybe their hearts are in it. And then the people say, whoa, yeah, us too, us too, us too. And then in verse 19, Joshua says, no, you can't. That was way too quick. You need to think about this. This is a choice. This is not a pep rally. This is not the coach saying, let's go out and win one for the team. And everybody goes, yay. This is a choice. You need to think about this. And if you forsake the Lord and serve other gods, he is going to turn on you in a New York minute. So the people said, no, we know. And Joshua says, okay, you know what? You've said it. You're your own witnesses. And then he says, now then throw away the foreign gods that are among you. So again, this is the stuff that's still, I mean, you would think after all this time they'd gotten rid of this stuff. But no, they still have some, or they've acquired some along the way. Maybe it was their great-grandmother's grandmothers, and they've just held on to it for sentiment's sake. God is saying, get rid of it. And they made a covenant, and they recorded the things in the book of the law, the God, which could be the Torah. They might have had the Ark of the Covenant with them at that time where the Torah was kept, and they could have added to that. We don't really know. And then he set up a large stone under the oak tree, and he said, this is it. This is a witness, and it'll be a witness against you if you are untrue. And then the book and the story ends. Joshua sent the people away, and he died at 110, and they buried him in his land. And throughout the terms, lifetime of Joshua and the elders and Eleazar, they served God. And then it has a little blurb about Joseph's bones. And they brought Joseph's bones, and they were buried at Shechem, which is exactly where Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers. And they buried the bones, and then Eleazar dies, and he's buried in the hill country of Ephraim. And so the book of Joshua ends on a cautionary tale of, or not tale, but note of, you better serve God, and you better mean it when you say it, because he is not going to deal good with you if you say, oh yeah, I'll do that, I'll be good to God, and I'll serve God, and I'll love God, and then you do that on Sundays and you don't do it the rest of the week. You gotta, it's a choice, you gotta make it, and you gotta mean it.